Discover the incredible truth, how my dad's shocking plate incident changed my life forever. It was a Sunday like any other in our small Midwestern town, where the air was thick with the aroma of my mom's famous pot roast. The laughter of family echoed through our modest home, surrounding us like a warm embrace. I was just a regular 16-year-old, tangled in the confusion of teenage life and the weight of my family's financial struggles. My dad, a tough-as-nails Vietnam veteran, worked endless hours at multiple jobs. I admired his grit, but it was a heavy burden to carry. Little did I know that a single moment would shift everything. As we settled at the dining table, plates clanking and stories flying through the air, my heart brimmed with love and warmth. Then, it happened. With a sudden crash, my dad dropped a cherished family plate, a delicate heirloom that had survived generations. The sound pierced through our laughter like a lightning bolt, silence crashing down around us. The once lively atmosphere became thick with shock. My dad's face turned pale. He stared at the shattered pieces scattered across the floor, his eyes shadowed with dismay. I felt my chest tighten. Why did I suddenly feel ashamed? It wasn't just a broken plate, it felt like a fracture in my heart, a crack in our family. Rage bubbled up within me as I confronted him, words spilling out like poison. "You're always messing things up," I shouted, the echo of my voice hanging in the stunned silence. In that moment, everything unraveled. My dad, with his battle scars and unyielding pride, faced my fury. He was human, frail in his own way, and I saw the defeat wash over him. The truth hit me hard. This wasn't just about a plate, it was about the sacrifices he made, the relentless pursuit of an American dream that felt just out of reach. The tension crackled between us, an unspoken weight of unyielded dreams and expectations. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the dust settled from the tumultuous moment, a flicker of inspiration sparked within me. At school, there was an opportunity, a chance to join a group that represented success, recognition, an escape from the financial woes that plagued my family. But was that really what I wanted? The allure of success felt enticing, yet something held me back. I began to look around at my neighbors who wrestled with their struggles, realizing we were all fighting similar battles. It hit me, what if instead of chasing individual success, I focused on lifting my community? With determination, I rallied the neighbors, proposing a project that would mend the fraying threads of our community. As I listened to their stories, the isolation I felt began to dissipate. We were stronger together. But just as I felt hope for a renewed future, unresolved tensions with my family crept back in. The echo of that shattered plate lingered in my mind, a haunting reminder of fragility. What would I choose, the allure of success or the bond of family? The decision loomed over me like a storm cloud, and I knew that finding acceptance might be the most challenging piece yet to fit into my life. The morning sun streamed through my bedroom window, casting warm rays that felt like they were nudging me awake. But my mind was a whirlpool of thoughts. The broken plate, my father's hurt expression, and the weight of my own words still clung to me like a heavy fog. I slipped out of bed, the wooden floor cold against my feet, and knew I had to do something. It was time to connect the pieces. At school, I approached my best friend, Mike. He was the kind of guy who could lighten any mood, always cracking jokes and making people laugh. But today, I could see a shadow lurking behind his eyes. "What's up, man?" I asked, sensing something was off. "I don't know, man. Things are tough at home," he admitted. "My dad lost his job last month. It's just been rough." In that moment, the room felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in on us with our shared struggles. I realized then this wasn't just my burden. These problems were woven into the fabric of our whole community. "What if we pull together?" I suggested. "I have an idea that could help everyone." Mike raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued. I quickly sketched out the plan for a community event, something we could rally around. The more I talked, the more the hope flickered in my chest. It was about bringing folks together, sharing skills, stories, and maybe even laughter. We could host a picnic, a swap meet, call it Community Day. The idea of connecting with people, of finding strength in our shared pain, lit a fire in me. That afternoon, I rushed home, bursting through the front door with energy, a stark contrast to that morning's heaviness. Mom was in the kitchen, her familiar apron tied around her waist, chopping vegetables for dinner. I spent a few minutes breathing in the comfort of home before I approached my dad, who sat in the living room, his face flickering over the evening news. "Dad, can we talk?" I said, my voice shaking just a little. He turned, surprised. I could almost see the walls he built around himself. "Sure, kid. What's on your mind?" I took a deep breath. This was my chance. I'd been thinking about something. Community. We can help our neighbors, Dad. It'll be like that old saying, you know, it takes a village. His brow furrowed, but the light in his eyes softened. You mean like a project? Exactly. A day where everyone can come together, share what they've got, support one another. We all need that right now, I said, feeling conviction rise in my voice. I want you to be part of it. I want us to be part of it. For a moment, silence enveloped us. His battle-weary face unveiled a glimmer of something, pride, maybe? It was a small victory, but it felt significant. I think that's a great idea. I'll help however I can, he said finally, and for the first time since the plate incident, I felt a crack in that impenetrable wall. The planning took off, my excitement bubbling over as I created flyers and spread the word. More people joined in, each sharing their talents, from cooking to storytelling. As I saw our neighborhood come alive with laughter and energy, I lost sight of our struggles as the weight began to lift. But a shadow loomed over me still. The echo of the broken plate haunted my thoughts, a lingering reminder of our fragility. Had I really mended things with my father? Would this newfound connection hold strong against the stress looming over us all? As the day of the event approached, anxiety began to gnaw at me. I needed to confront my family's past, and the ghosts of our battles would soon come to light. Was I ready for that? The clock was ticking, and the stakes were rising. Would this community day heal not just our neighborhood but my relationship with my dad as well? The days slipped by quickly, like sand through my fingers. I found myself waking up each morning with a mix of hope and dread. Community day was almost here, and the thought thrilled me, but the anxiety about my father lingered like a cloud, blocking out the sun. Friday evening arrived, the air buzzing with anticipation. The smell of freshly baked goods wafted through our house. Mom had been baking up a storm, readying trays of cookies and pies for our neighbors. It was chaotic yet comforting, just what I needed to distract me. As I helped her decorate the desserts, I saw her smile, a genuine, wide-brimmed joy that made my heart swell. While I was busy icing cupcakes, I heard the front door creak open. "Hey, it's me," Mike called out, barging into the kitchen. "You ready for the big day?" "Almost. Just putting the finishing touches on these," I replied, trying to match his excitement. "We've got a good crowd coming, man. Everyone's chipping in," he said, bumping my shoulder playfully. "Really?" I asked, my pulse quickening. It was one thing to dream up this event, but it was another to see it actually happening. "Yep. And your dad is helping with the setup. He's really getting into it." The thought sparked a flicker of hope in me. I smiled, letting out a little laugh. It sounded strange, almost foreign after all that had happened. Later that night, as I lay in bed trying to fall asleep, my mind raced. Will it work? I whispered to the shadows on the wall. Will I reach him? When the sun peeked up the next day, I couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen. I dressed quickly, the nerves buzzing in my stomach like a swarm of bees. All the preparation, the planning, it felt monumental. This wasn't just a picnic, it was a chance to reconnect, to bridge the chasm that had grown between my dad and me. Mom and I packed up the car with food, games, and all the supplies we gathered. Once at the park, I was struck by how vibrant it looked, filled with families laughing and children running. It felt alive. My heart raced as I searched for my dad. I found him near the picnic tables, tying down a banner that read Community Day. His face was flushed with effort, but there was a smile tugging at his lips. The sight was an unexpected relief. "Hey, Dad. Need a hand?" I asked, my uncertainty fading a little. He looked up at me, and for a brief moment, the world around us faded. "Sure, I could use help with this." We worked side by side, adjusting decorations, his shoulder brushing against mine. It felt oddly comforting, like a breath of fresh air. With every task we tackled, I felt the weight of the past begin to dissolve, though the memory of the broken plate crept back to me. "Dad," I hesitated, searching for the right words. "I know things have been tough. But today is about us, the people around us. I want you to know you're not alone. We're all in this together." He paused, the surprise clear on his face. "I appreciate that, son. I really do." Then, as if someone snapped a finger, the moment shifted. People began to gather, laughter filling the park with buoyancy. Kids were racing around, and I saw neighbors greeting each other with warm hugs, former strangers becoming friends. As the first hour passed, my heart raced once more, but this time with excitement. There was an energy pulsing through the crowd, and I felt as if it could spark something in my family, too. But then, amidst the joy, I saw a familiar face in the distance, someone I hadn't expected to see today. Anxiety twisted in my stomach, and reality crashed back in like a tidal wave. Would this person disrupt everything I'd built up? I had to know. Would my dad support me? Would I be able to confront my fears in front of everyone? The answer hung in the air, as uncertain as the jangling nerves dancing in my heart. As I squinted into the crowd, the outline of a figure began to sharpen. My breath caught in my throat. There she was, Jess. The last time I'd seen her was at the coffee shop, arguing about the viral post she made about the community and its struggles, and honestly, about me. Every pulse of the joyous chatter around me faded away, drowned out by the rapid thudding of my heart. "What's wrong?" Mike nudged me, sensing the shift in my demeanor. That's Jess," I managed to stutter, pointing her way. "Whoa, I didn't think she'd come," Mike said, eyes widening. "Neither did I replied, my stomach knotting tighter. She looked out of place among the jubilant scene, arms crossed, leaning against the park's old oak tree. "Do you want me to talk to her?" Mike offered. He was always ready to jump into action, to fend off whatever threats loomed. "No," I shook my head, my voice steadier than I felt. "I need to handle this myself." I took a deep breath, retreating into my memories of us, the laughter we shared, the secrets exchanged, the warmth of her smile. But intertwined was the bitter taste of betrayal. "Here goes nothing," I muttered under my breath, forcing myself to move forward through the crowd. As I approached, Jess saw me and pushed off the tree, her posture rigid, a mix of unease and defiance. "Didn't think you'd actually pull this off," she said, crossing her arms tighter. I braved a step closer. "This isn't just some event for me, Jess. It's important. My dad is here. We're trying to fix things." I hoped my words would provoke the empathetic reaction I longed for, but her expression stayed stony. "Is that why you're nervous? Because of your dad?" she asked, her voice softening slightly. "Yes," I replied, feeling the warmth behind my words. "I know you've been around town airing out its dirty laundry. And yeah, I was hurt, but now I'm just trying to figure things out. This day was supposed to be a fresh start." Her expression shifted ever so slightly. "It's just the truth, you know. The community needs to face what's really going on." My frustration flared. "You're forgetting that people are trying. They're here to make things better. Today is a part of that." "I didn't mean to rain on your party," she replied, softer now, almost apologetic. "But that truth isn't going to disappear just because we pretend everything's fine." Before you started all this, people were getting along better, I pressed. You were part of that. She looked past me, her gaze distant, circling back to the laughter, the celebration, and the heart of the community bustling behind me. You really think this day will change anything? I felt the anger melting into something deeper and understanding. I don't know. But it's a place to start. All I'm asking is to give it a chance, to let people come together. In that moment, I could sense a shift in her demeanor. The walls she built around herself began to falter. Maybe I saw a hint of regret, or perhaps it was hope. Mason. My dad's voice rumbled toward me, pulling my focus away from Jess. He was waving me over, waving in celebration with a group of neighbors, his smile radiant. My heart warmed at the sight. I'll think about it, Jess finally said, her voice barely above a whisper as I turned back to my dad. As I rushed to meet him, the connection to Jess faded, but our conversation weighed heavily in my mind. Was it too late for her? Or for me and my dad? The festival had its own pulse now, and with every beat, I felt something shifting, something like hope, but also fear. Could I really bridge the gap not just with my dad, but with the whole community? I didn't know the answer, but a tightening in my chest told me this was just the beginning. As I reached my dad, the air was thick with laughter and teasing. It felt so right, yet that unease still lingered. I had to face Jess again. I needed more than just this one day. But first, what was my dad thinking about Jess? Would he welcome her back into our lives as easily as he seemed to embrace everyone else? The questions loomed, filling me with a mix of excitement and dread all over again. I felt the warmth of my dad's presence wrap around me like a comforting blanket. He pulled me into a tight hug, and I breathed in the familiar scent of his aftershave mixed with the smell of grilled burgers wafting through the air. Despite the laughter surrounding us, a shadow lingered on my heart. Mason. Look at all these amazing people. Dad exclaimed, breaking the hug and gesturing grandly to the crowd. Neighbors I'd known my whole life were mingling, smiles lifting their faces, paying little mind to the tension that had set me on edge. Yeah, it's great, I replied, my voice lacking the enthusiasm I knew he was expecting. I scanned the crowd, my eyes darting back to where Jess had stood moments before. She was gone now, swallowed up by the bursts of laughter and cheer. Now, this is what community is all about, Dad said with a palpable zest, and for a moment I shared his joy. Yet, the weight of Jess's discontent hovered like a storm cloud in my mind. I noticed the group of neighbors that had gathered around him, clinking cups of lemonade, their revelry infectious. I should have felt at ease, but all I could think about was how much had changed, especially between Jess and me. Are you still daydreaming about that girl? Dad's teasing broke through my thoughts. I shot him a look, half bewildered, half embarrassed. Dad. It's not like that, I replied, though my heart betrayed me. Come on, Mason. You and Jess were inseparable once, he said, his smile fading a notch as he regarded me with seriousness. What happened? His question struck deep. Everything's just complicated. I could feel the hesitation in my words, the struggle to bring the truth to light. Jess had fractured things in a way that didn't seem fixable, and yet the optimistic beat of the festival thrummed around us, almost mocking my fears. We can't change the past, he replied softly, his voice steady. But we can shape the future. Look at this place. Look at all these people. As my dad pointed out familiar faces and engaged them in light-hearted banter, I couldn't shake the thought that I was standing at a crossroads. Should I follow my father's enthusiasm, or confront the reality that Jess was still out there, tangled up in my thoughts? Suddenly, I noticed her again, standing at the far edge of the crowd, watching us. Her eyes seemed to lock on mine, a challenge and a plea rolled into one. The laughter around me faded, eclipsed by the weight of her unspoken words. My fingers tingled with the urge to go to her, to bridge the silence that lingered like a thick fog between us. Do you see what I see? Dad asked, pulling me back to the present. I quickly shook my head, trying to shake off the numbness. This is what it means to come together. Mason, we've been through a lot. But today, look at how everyone is willing to look past their issues. Yeah, but I hesitated, the word barely escaping my lips. I wanted to argue that it wasn't that simple. People couldn't just forgive and forget, not when there were wounds still fresh in the air. We can't let the past anchor us to regret, son. Reconnect if you can, he said, his encouragement almost too simple to process. I glanced back at Jess, who had now turned, blending again into the jubilant crowd. My heart sank knowing that the question of reconciliation loomed large. Could I really reach out to her? What if she doesn't want to? I whispered to myself, panic creeping in. Who? Dad asked, his head tilting slightly as he tried to catch my eye. I sighed, the weight of uncertainty hanging heavily above us. Nobody. All right, one step at a time, he answered, clapping me on the shoulder. But I knew that this step wouldn't be easy. Curiosity clawed at me. What if I wasn't brave enough to bridge that gap? As the music swelled and the crowd cheered, I felt the unsteady ground beneath me. The festival was reaching its peak, but my heart lay elsewhere, torn between the past and what could come next. Would I have the courage to face Jess again? Before I could decide, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd, drawing my dad's attention completely. Mason. Did you see that? He pointed at the makeshift stage as an unexpected announcement was made. Something unexpected was about to unfold. Something that could change everything all over again. Would it push me closer to Jess, or further away? The tension in the air thickened as I braced myself for the truth waiting right around the corner. The cheers grew louder, drowning out the music for a moment, capturing my attention. A man in a bright red shirt stood on the stage, waving his arms as though he were conducting the crowd. I felt the vibrations of anticipation coursing through my veins. Everyone. Listen up. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. He boomed into the microphone, and the audience shifted, eyes glued to him. I felt my heart race with a mix of excitement and dread. My dad leaned in closer, his eyes sparkling. Maybe they picked your favorite raffle number. But inside, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was about more than just a game. The carefree atmosphere hung in the air like a taut rubber band, ready to snap. The announcer continued, in just a few moments, we will select the winner of this year's grand prize, a brand new bike. Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd. Young kids bounced on their heels, eyes wide, while adults leaned in, some exchanging good-natured elbow nudges. But all I could focus on was the growing lump in my throat. Deep inside, I knew that my own grand prize was something much more elusive and abstract, the chance to reconnect with Jess. Come on. What's it gonna be? My heart thumped painfully against my ribs as I stole another glance at Jess. She was now laughing with a group of friends, but her gaze flicked back to me every so often. I caught a glimpse of something lurking in her eyes. Was it longing? Regret? Or maybe, just maybe, hope? Mason? You okay? Dad's voice pulled me from my reverie. I nodded weakly, but he could see through the facade. Son, your heart is heavy. You know what you need to do. I know, I replied, swallowing hard. It's just what? He pressed, the concern etching deep lines on his forehead. What if she doesn't want to talk? I admitted, the fear spilling out. What if I ruin everything? Dad's expression softened. You've faced hard things before. Sometimes, taking that leap is easier than carrying the weight of silence. That struck me like a jolt of electricity. The man on stage began to call out numbers, and I barely heard him. Instead, I felt every second stretching out as I weighed my options. Then the announcer shouted, and the winner is number 345. The crowd erupted in applause, cheers erupting like fireworks. My mind returned to the moment as I saw a child sprint toward the stage, grinning ear to ear. But my heart was still racing as I locked eyes with Jess once more. In that instant, I realized the prize for me wasn't a bike or a grand gesture. It was the chance to be honest with her, to face the confrontation I had been dreading. Taking a deep breath, I pushed past the throng of people, each step jarring my already unsettled heart. As I got closer to her, I paused, uncertainty washing over me. Was I really ready to do this? Jess glanced over at me. Time slowed. The laughter around us faded, leaving just the two of us in a bubble suspended in air. I could see the small purse of her lips, the way her brows furrowed slightly, echoing the conflict within me. "Hey," I said, voice barely above a whisper. She looked genuinely surprised. "Hey." The crowd swelled around us, but it felt like we were in our own world, the tension palpable, charging the air. Decision time. But would I finally step forward? "Can we talk?" I found myself asking, the words trembling but resolute. Jess bit her lip, considering. I held my breath, waiting, hoping for a glimmer of warmth in her eyes, a sign that perhaps, just perhaps, this would be the beginning of something new. Before she could answer, the crowd erupted again as the announcer prepared for another big reveal. My stomach tightened, the stakes higher than ever. Did I just open a door, or was I about to trap myself even deeper in uncertainty? The answer lay with Jess, but time was slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. Would she take the leap with me? Jess's eyes flickered with surprise, then uncertainty. She opened her mouth, and for a moment, it felt like the world around us held its breath. But instead of answering, she lowered her gaze, biting her lip harder as the noise of the celebration surrounded us, distracting my focus. "Mason," she started, hesitating again. My heart sank. Maybe I had misread everything. Maybe that brief spark in her eyes was just a reflection of the excitement in the crowd. Just then, the announcer's booming voice cut through the tension again, grabbing the attention of everyone nearby. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin the final drawing of the day." The words echoed with an energy that felt at odds with the silent storm brewing between Jess and me. I stepped closer, channeling all my courage into one question. "Jess, please, we need to talk. Not here, but somewhere, anywhere. I can't go on like this." The urgency in my voice seemed to resonate. She looked up, the worry in her eyes morphing into something deeper. "Okay. I can do that," she replied, her voice soft but firm. Relief washed over me, but the weight of the moment still pressed heavily. We knew that whatever we were about to face wasn't going to be easy. It would require peeling back layers of hurt, misunderstandings, and the thick silence that had built up between us since that fateful day. As we moved away from the thrumming crowd, I caught glimpses of colorful balloons bobbing in the breeze and the sound of laughter echoing around us. But all I could focus on was just the way she gently tugged at her sleeves, the way her brow furrowed in thought. It was as if we were stepping into a different world, one that was both familiar and painfully alien. "Where do you want to go?" I asked when we found a quieter spot, the edge of the park where a few benches stood under a tall, waving maple tree. "Here is fine," she said, sitting down and gesturing for me to join her. I sat, trying to formulate my thoughts. In that moment, time lingered. I could feel the weight of everything pressing against my chest. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. "I've missed you," I blurted out, the words spilling from my lips before I could filter them. Her gaze flickered, reflecting an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. "I've missed you too, Mason. But things have changed, and it's not as simple as just saying that." "I know," I admitted, guilt creeping through me. "I know about the fight. I know we've both said things we didn't mean." I paused, searching her eyes for any sign of recognition. "But I still believe that we can find a way back to each other. I want to work through this if you do." Tension hung in the air, thicker than the humid afternoon breeze. Jess looked down at her hands, the silence stretching further. "I don't want to get hurt again," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm scared." Those words cut deep. I had been scared too, scared of rejection, and of ruining this chance. "So am I confessed. But we can't let fear decide for us. We need to be honest, with each other, and ourselves." She met my gaze, the flicker of hope battling with the shadows of doubt in her expression. "What if you're still not ready?" "Then I'll be honest about that," I replied, the resolve growing in my heart. A promise of truth over silence. Her breath caught slightly, and for a second, I thought I could see the glimmer of connection once more. It felt fragile, like glass on the verge of shattering. But at least it was there. Then, suddenly, a commotion erupted from the direction of the festival. I turned, witnessing a swarm of people rushing towards the stage, excitement thickening the air. Maybe it was just the culmination of the earlier announcements. Whatever it was, I felt the warmth of dread rise again in my chest. Were we about to face another twist in our story? Would we turn back to the crowd, to the noise, or face what was waiting in this moment? Would I have the courage to keep moving forward with Jess, whatever that meant for both of us? The stir around us continued, and a realization hit me. Whatever happened next would define not just our summer, but perhaps the course of our lives. Would I step up and take that risk? The moment was ripe for change, if we both dared to embrace it. The noise from the crowd swelled, laughter turning into gasps and cheers. My heart pounded, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Jess shifted beside me, her eyes fixed on the commotion. She was tense, yet a flicker of curiosity sparked in her expression. "What do you think is happening?" she asked, breaking the silence that had once weighed heavily on us. That I shook my head. "I have no idea." But I felt this nagging urge to pull her back from the edge of hesitation. "Let us just stay here. We need to figure things out to talk." There was a firmness in my tone, one that echoed my desire to not let go of this moment. She nodded slowly, her gaze drifting toward the chaos. I could see the conflict in her eyes. The pull of the festivity versus the weight of our conversation hung palpable in the air. "Do you remember that summer 2 years ago?" Jess suddenly said, her voice breaking through the noise. "The day we got in that fight over nothing? It feels like we've been stuck in that moment ever since." I let out a small laugh, barely hiding the pain beneath it. "Yeah. It's like we've built this wall of silence. Every time I think about breaking it down, I hesitate, afraid of what happens next." Her eyes softened, and in that instant, I felt the distance between us shrink. "I spent the last 2 years wishing we could just rewind time, you know? Pretend like everything could go back to the way it was. But it can't." I said it gently. "We're different now." She looked up, a slight resolve lifting her chin. "Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it means we can finally be honest and really see each other this time." An unexpected warmth flooded through me. "You're right. I want to see you and not just the person I thought I knew." I shifted closer, feeling the gravity of words unspoken hover between us. What if we faced our truth? What if we took the risk? What are we risking? Jess asked, her voice softened, filled with newfound courage. "Joy, heartbreak, everything." I hesitated, then added, "But isn't that life? We owe it to ourselves to try, Jess, and I owe it to you." Her brow knit together, then relaxed. "I want that chance." The adrenaline of our conversation sharpened all my senses, almost like a jolt of electricity. There was something potent in the air, an undercurrent that promised change. I wanted to believe we could navigate this fractured world together. Then, as if propelled by destiny, the crowd's roar surged again, exclamations of joy and disbelief echoing around us. I turned to catch glimpses of what had captured everyone's attention. Colorful streamers flew through the air as people cheered, and the announcer's voice carried a thrilling note that made my heart race. "Come on," I urged Jess, standing up. "Let us go see what's happening. Let us feel that excitement. Maybe it's the universe giving us a sign." She hesitated, but finally took my hand, a slight smile creeping onto her face. The warmth of her touch was grounding, the kind of reassurance that sparked hope in a dim room. Together, we stepped toward the celebration, hearts beating with the promise of something new. But as we approached the stage, a shadow loomed over the jubilant atmosphere, an unsettling feeling layered beneath the excitement. In my gut, I sensed something big was about to unfold. What revelation awaited us at the stage, and would it shatter the delicate connection we had just begun to rebuild? Would the next twist catapult us into a new beginning or derail everything we had just shared? The crowd parted as we made our way forward, the energy pulsating around us like a living thing. It was a moment that felt electric, with every cheer echoing in my chest. I didn't just want to see, I needed to feel this shift in our lives, the one we'd danced around for so long. Jess squeezed my hand, her earlier resolve now mixed with anticipation. What if it's something amazing? She whispered. Or something we never expected, I replied, keeping my voice steady. I could sense her want for hope, threading through the air like the streamers flying above. But beneath that excitement, my mind churned with uncertainty. As we got closer, the stage came into view. A local celebrity was preparing to announce the unveiling of a new community project, something aimed at healing the rifts that had formed over the years. The sign above the stage read, "Together we rise." It felt like a promise on the very edge of being fulfilled, but before the celebrity spoke, a sudden commotion broke out near the front. A tall figure emerged from the side of the stage, dressed in a suit but with an expression that wasn't matching the festive atmosphere. I leaned in closer, trying to catch what was happening. An argument? No, more like a frantic exchange, like a storm ready to burst. Is that? Jess leaned forward, her voice trailing off. I could hardly hear her over the crescendo of the crowd. Look. I pointed toward the stage as the figure turned. It was my dad. We have to go. Jess exclaimed, pulling my hand as she recognized who it was. Wait. I said, rooted in place. Confusion washed over me. He looked different. His eyes were wild, darting from side to side, as if searching for something or someone. In that moment, time seemed to stall. The excitement and joy of the crowd faded into a buzzing hum. Everything became focused on the fraught expression on my dad's face. We were meant to come together. He shouted into the microphone, the urgency in his voice cutting through the chatter. My heart sank. I had never seen him like this. Dad, what's going on? I mumbled under my breath, just as Jess's grip on my hand tightened. Is he okay? She asked, concern etching lines on her forehead. Suddenly, the crowd quieted. My dad, catching his breath, fixed his gaze right on me. Listen, everyone. I need you to hear me. There is something I must share. Something that will change everything you think you know. Every eye in the crowd turned toward him. I felt Jess's presence at my side, solid, yet tinged with anxiety. I wasn't ready for whatever revelation was coming. Did he mean our relationship? So much had changed between us that I could hardly keep up. I didn't want to hold this secret any longer. He continued, his voice growing steadier but quaking with emotion. Not just for me, but for all of us. My breath caught in my throat. This felt like the crumbling of walls that had taken years to build. Would this revelation shatter any hope of connection Jess and I had just started to forge? Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to something monumental. What could he possibly say that would bring us all together, or tear us apart? The crowd was hanging on to his every word. And then, as my father opened his mouth to disclose his truth, a deafening silence fell, like nature itself was holding its breath. What lay on the other side of this revelation? Was I prepared for the truth, and would it bind us together or break us down for good? As my father stood on that stage, the air crackled with expectation. I could barely think. My heart raced, fluttering in time with the murmurs rippling through the crowd. Jess's hand was still clasped in mine, a reassuring warmth amidst the growing tension. Everyone, I know the past few years have been tough, Dad began, his voice steady but strained. I could see the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air, and I held my breath, waiting for the storm to break. We've all faced struggles. We've all felt isolated, but I want you to know I've been carrying a secret. A ripple of intrigue and concern washed over the crowd. My heartbeat drummed in my ears as Jess squeezed my hand tighter, her eyes wide with a mix of anxiety and fascination. What could possibly lie behind his words? I thought I could handle it alone. I thought I was protecting you all. But the truth is I may have let you down. His voice cracked slightly, and I could see the resolve in his eyes sharpen as he continued. For years, I've struggled with a silent battle, my mental health. I didn't seek help when I should have. I let pride get in the way. Gasps echoed through the crowd, a collective inhalation of breath. Jess turned to look at me, her expression a mixture of empathy and newfound understanding. I felt tears prick at my eyes. Dad's profound honesty was a weight lifted. I kept pushing myself, trying to be the rock for our family. But I've realized that a rock can't help if it's crumbling on the inside. He looked out at all the faces. I want to change that. I want to rebuild not just myself, but the connections I've neglected. Through therapy, through community. Together, we can break the silence. A clamor erupted, a mix of surprise and supportive shouts. At that moment, I felt everything shift. It was as if the walls around our family began to crack, allowing sunlight to stream in. My dad's courage resonated deeply, igniting a sense of liberation, not just for him but for everyone there. What Dad shared wasn't just about him, it became our shared story, weaving threads of vulnerability into the fabric of our community. His admission was an invitation for others to step forward, to share their own burdens. A mother near us wiped tears from her cheeks. Someone shouted encouragement from the back. I felt my heart swell, pride flooding in, and in that moment, I knew this was the bridge I thought we had to cross alone. Together, we could shatter the stigma. My dad's honesty taught me that imperfections don't define us, they unite us. That I turned to Jess, trembling with emotion. I can't believe he just did that, I breathed, my voice thick with gratitude and admiration. With a smile breaking across her face, Jess replied, "He is showing everyone the way." "Do you really think we can do it?" I asked, her hand still firmly in mine. "I think we have to try," she said, her eyes now shining with determination. "Like your dad said, we can't keep carrying it alone." As the applause surged, my dad beamed with a newfound lightness. I saw him look over at me, his expression raw and filled with hope. Something monumental had shifted for both of us, the air around us charged with possibility and healing. Slowly, Jess and I moved toward my dad, carving a path through the crowd. The laughter and chatter enveloped us like a warm blanket. I could see a future painted in vibrant colors rather than the muted tones of before. As we reached him, he pulled us both into a tight embrace, the world around us a swirling blur of kind voices and laughter. "Thank you," my father whispered, his emotion palpable. "For this chance, this opportunity to connect." As Jess and I stood by his side, the festival served not just as a celebration of community but as a canvas for our rebirth. It was incredible to see faces come together, to hear the stories being shared, the smiles erupting despite the past. The beauty of unity transformed us, binding strangers who were now friends, families mended by the threads of shared struggles. No longer were we just individuals facing life's challenges, we became a powerful collective, a testament to resilience and hope. As the day faded, I pulled Jess aside, taking a breath. "Let us be the change." "Together," I said softly. "Together," Jess replied, hope lighting her eyes once more. And in that moment, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew we were moving forward, no longer haunted by the ghosts of the past, stepping into an era of understanding, connection, and love. Life was waiting for us, ready for the next chapter, and I couldn't wait to see what it held. Now, it's time to make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, you need to. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to stand with the community. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us continue the journey together.